Okay, we are live. It is Tuesday. We are back to needle felting today. And there we go. I was going to say I can't get the needle out of the handle, but no, we're good. Okay. Now, when we last left off, we were working on following along with the Bob Ross Joy of Felting, Season 30, Episode 3, Winter's Peace. This is our second session working on this guy. And we left off with not quite done our background colors. See, he gave himself a little bit more sky than I did here. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not. I guess we'll find out, right? So I've got my finger protectors, I've got my needle, and we're just gonna dive on in with the color that we need to finish up. And we will see how things go. I believe today is Mardi Gras. So, happy Mardi Gras. Everybody. Alrighty. Do have some sort of, well, it's exciting for me. I have news. I have finally finished editing the tissue paper project. I'd only been working on the edit since like September. Technically August, but I had to restart the edit after I accidentally corrupted it. But the final render was completed last night. My program didn't crash on me, because that's been a fight to get this thing finished. Everything looked fairly good in the final video when I glanced over it in random spots. And my brain was just so tired of editing towards the end. The very last clip, like the very last section of clips. Oh, 1 second. In the very last set of clips, almost to the end. After I did the final render on that set of clips, and I was going back and looking at it, I realized I messed up and left a clip in that should have been cut. And I was just so done with it. I was like, you know what? Screw it. It lives here now. So I ended up leaving that in. I don't know if I accidentally did that anywhere else, but that was one spot where I noticed it. I think my brain forgot whether or not the last one I did was a speed up or a cut. And yeah, so that's in there. It shouldn't have been. Kudos if you find it. I could have tried to take it out, but after that video set was such a pain to get rendered, I wasn't re-rendering it. I was like, no, it is gonna be there now. Whatever, I don't care. I don't care. It's staying. It's fine. It was just me putting glue into a cup that didn't need to be there, but it was there. Right, it's fine. It's fine. Alright, so tonight, well, after stream today, I will start the upload. The final total on 7 months of work came down to 7 hours and 20 minutes, which honestly wasn't as bad as my brain thought it was going to be. So it's definitely the longest video on the channel, for the YouTube channel, I believe. I think the current longest video that's up there might be 6 hours and change. Maybe? On like one of the first Bob Ross needle felts I posted that I tried to speed up because we're limited to like 11 hours and 59 minutes in length on YouTube, or else it won't let you upload, or it won't save a live stream that goes over that. It won't archive it. So, I was thinking it was gonna be really close because my brain wasn't doing time math properly. So I was happy that it wasn't longer because my brain was like, crap, I might have to do this in 2 parts. But no, we were good. We were all good. We were within our time parameters, actually better than I expected. So tonight, or technically this afternoon, I will start the final upload, or the upload of that to the YouTube channel. And we will see how things progress from there and how long that upload takes. It's probably going to take a little while. The processing time will probably take longer. I don't know if I'm going to readjust everything else that's up there. Hi, Bean. What's up, my guy? What can I do for you? Don't stand on my power button. Thank you. Bean says, hello? No, no, no. Hi, what are we doing? I told you that's not... Can you get down from there? Come on. Mommy has a sharp thing in her hand. Okay, thanks. Such a brat sometimes. He's being quite the terror and the cutest cuddle bug at the same time last night. He's like, love me, pet me, please. And then as soon as you started to give him what he wanted, then he was like, I'm going to nom you and attack your face. And I'm like, dude. What's the big deal? Okay. So excited I don't have to edit tonight. I can either work on painting my vase, or I can work on getting these fluff bags filled, and I'm not sure which I want to do. Kind of need to get the vase done. But I also really need to get fluff filled. But getting fluff filled is going to be a multi-day thing, so maybe I should work on my vase. But I don't really like to paint at night because my eyes are tired at the end of the day, and I'm just like, meh. I might just sit here with the heating pad on my neck and either sew or work on fluff bags. And I'm not sure what I want to do, because I do need to start my mom's Mother's Day thing, but I might be worrying about that too soon. I don't know. But am I though? Because then once it's done, I can stop thinking about it. I don't know. I got to kind of see how I am feeling about things. Okay, I've got one little light spot. My mom said something. I don't know if you heard it, husband. Excuse me. Alright, sorry. Had to tell husband something real quick. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather... I don't know what I'm doing tonight. I don't know. Like, I'd like to get that vase finished because it's gonna take me a while, but I don't know, man. I've got so much I have to work on or want to work on. I don't know where to start first. One of those deals. Okay. So, let us advance our tutorial a bit here. And we're going to see where Bob's going to take us. So he's going to take a fan brush. And we're going to start dropping in some cloudy guys. On up in there. It's just kind of rubbing them in. And then he's going to kind of blend that in. And then kind of put in another small layer there. Whoop. Sorry, Bob. I don't get anything out of showing that ad. No, it wouldn't let me skip it. Uh-oh. Okay, so he's moving on to something else. Alright, so we have some clouds we need to work into here. And that's fine. We will do that. So let me get rid of this bag of color. Back up on the left wall. I do wish I had like more room so that I could access the fluff wall a lot easier than how I have it right now. It'll get a little bit better when the warmer weather rolls around and I can pack all of my sweaters away. But I've also got like all of my sweaters and coats. Because you need multiple coats here. Because you never know what the temperature's going to be here. You need like a heavy winter coat, and then you need like this hoodie, a heavier hoodie, a lighter hoodie. And then I've got like multiple sweaters that could double as a coat for like in between the heavy winter coat and like the heavy hoodie, because those sweaters are pretty warm. Or at least one of them was. And I'm just like, okay. One of them was my coat from when we went to Florida. Or one of my coats. I had that and a hoodie. Because I was certainly not going to... I mean, I know it was like 10 degrees when we left here. But I'm like, I'm not sitting in the car in a heavy winter coat. And just that much sensory with the road noise. And the heat running in the car. And the anxiety of the road trip. And the traffic. And the sound from the radio and the GPS, and then my mom needing stuff in the backseat, Russell needing, it was too much. I'm like, yeah, no. We'll just wear the sweater, and when I get warm, I will just pull it off. Pull my arms out of the sleeves, That's something I can take care of easily in the car. And then my mom was mad when we stopped. Where were we? Where were we? We were at Buc-ee's and we stopped to get gas and food. And she's like, "Oh my God, these mothers taking their kids inside and they only have these little pajamas on." I'm like, "Mom, they were in the car. They're gonna be outside for like 5 minutes, if that, from the car to the building to go potty. Kids overheat in the car. And I'm sure they had blankets in the car. Like, because she's cold, she thinks everybody else should be in snow parkas and snowsuits and bundled up like it's minus 20 outside. And I'm just like, Mother, stop. Again, just because you're cold doesn't mean everybody else is cold. And I'd rather have a child that was chilly for a few minutes getting from the car to the building than an overheating child, cranky and crying and pissy in the car, in the back seat. Like, come on now. It's not like the cars don't have heat. You've got a blanket. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm really hot. It's really hot back here. I need to take this coat off." I'm like, "Why? I told you not to wear that in the back seat. That was the whole point of bringing your blanket." It was quite the road trip. Quite the road trip indeed. And you know, she's older. She should be getting up more often. So we'd see a rest area. Do you need to get up, stretch your legs? Do you need to pee? No, I'm good. I'm like, I have to pee. How do you not have to pee? She's like, well, I'm trying not to drink that much. I'm like, you can't dehydrate yourself. We can stop for you to pee. We're just not stopping every half an hour so you can have a cigarette. Like, no. No. That's not what we're doing. We'll never get there. Because the one road trip, that's like all it was. We were stopping like every hour and a half so she could smoke unless she was asleep. Like, we got you a butt cup for in the back seat. Just tell us before you go to light it so we can crack the windows. And Russell's like, look, if you don't have to pee, you need to at least get up and walk around. It's been hours since you stood up. And there was a little bit of slush on the ground. He's like, I've got you, but you need to at least walk back and forth around the car. She actually slept most of the time. Except for when we were going through big cities with lots of changing of lanes and us needing to hear the GPS. Like, because there was a lot of, oh, stay in this lane until, you know, you get 3 car lengths to this point, and then you have to quick switch over to this lane. Like, one of the lane changes caught us by surprise, and we're like, fuck. You know, it's like, and I can't remember if it was Atlanta or if it was Birmingham. I saw skyscrapers. Maybe it was Atlanta. I don't remember. But it was pretty chaotic. And traffic was heavy. Might have been Atlanta and Birmingham because each time, like, she kept, like, I kept muting the game she was playing on her Kindle, and right at the worst time as we were in terrible traffic, we started hearing this, like, funky noise, and we're like, what the fuck is that? Why is the GPS making that noise? And then we realized it was her game, and I'm like, God damn it, give me that! And she's like, fine, I won't listen to it again, or I won't touch it again. I'm like, you can touch it, but I don't know how you're turning the volume up. Stop putting your finger on the button. I'm not. She's like, oh, I'm pressing it into the back of your chair. I'm like, why are you pressing it into the back of my chair? I'm like, holy crap, Mom. And then we were at another point, deep in traffic coming into, I think those are, I don't know if it was Memphis. I don't know, one of the, we had three bigger cities to go through. We went through part of Memphis, and then part of Birmingham, and then um Atlanta. Little Rock was fine. It was just like a, oh, stay here, stay there. Little Rock was not a big deal. That was actually our smoothest larger city, surprisingly enough. um I think they did some construction work there, so now it's not quite so traumatic and scary. She's like trying to hand me money. She's like, oh, here for this. I'm like, this couldn't wait till we got out of the city. This couldn't have waited until we stopped for the day or stopped to get gas. Like, what are you doing? Please don't just suddenly start reaching up here with stuff, shoving it in my face. She's like, well, I don't know where we are. Yes, yes, that much is very obvious. Just, good lord. And then we had a scare while we were down there with the car. Um, Somebody rear-ended us. Um, Not bad though. Um, they kind of, I don't know what was going on. I don't know if they were trying to change lanes. I don't know what the hell happened. They tapped our bumper. They like nudged us while we were sitting still. And we were like, what the fuck? And she happened to nudge us in the same spot that we already had bumper damage in. I think she made the indent a little bit bigger. Um, because we had bumper damage shortly after we got the car, because we were backing up and somebody else backed up and we backed up into each other, and it was just cosmetic, and we're like, what the fuck ever. And she was freaking out. We were gonna file an accident report. She's like, I don't have insurance, my license is suspended. I'm like, yeah, I see why. She had a kid on her hip, she was hysterical, and Russell was like, it's just cosmetic, it seems, it's fine. Maybe don't drive while your license is suspended and get some insurance, because somebody else might not be so kind. And this lady was hysterical. I think she saw the dent that had already existed and the crack. There's like a upside down 90-degree angle crack in the bumper. She's like, oh, can we just pull over my insurance and everything? We're like, okay, fine. So the way she was so upset about us pulling over and like figuring this out, I'm like, Russell, just pull over, because I don't know how bad this is, and we might regret not at least checking while we have her. So we pulled over and we checked it, and we're like, what's wrong? And we're like, she made the indent a little bit bigger, but that was it. Like, there was no real damage. And we're like, it's fine. Breathe. We're like, just breathe. It's okay. Because apparently she was telling us about how her grandmother just died and she had this huge ass snake plant in the front seat and that's why she couldn't see, and she couldn't put it anywhere else because she has this huge ass cedar chest, and Russell was trying to help her tie the plant back so she didn't get into any more accidents on the way home. Um and when he went to get back in the car, I'm like, hey, and he goes, what? I said, there's like a screw or a bolt in our tire. And he's like, what? Because we didn't have a tire sensor going off and we weren't losing air. And we're like, what the fuck? And we're like, oh my god, that's got to really be in there to holding the seal. And we're like, how long has that been there? And we're like, oh my god. So we were freaking out about that. And we were going to have somebody look at it, but the person that my uncle suggested couldn't see us for like 2 days. And we're like, we need to get this dealt with now because we're trying to get the hell out of here and we need to know how much this is going to cost, right? So we're all upset. And there was a Walmart Supercenter. And I'm like, go over to Walmart. I don't trust them very much, but let's just go over and see. And they took a look at the tire and they laughed and they're like, yeah, your tire's fucked. They're like, I ain't touching that. And we're like, oh, fuck. So we're like, okay, fine. So we made an appointment to come back later in the day when they could fit us in to get a new tire. And we were pissed, right? Because the last thing we had money for was a brand new tire. It was one of the tires we had just put on the car, too. It was a brand new tire that had this bolt in it, and a bolt and a washer. And we're like, great. We just put these tires on the car before we came down here. These tires are maybe 2 weeks old. We were pissed, to say the least. I was an anxiety-ridden mess. I just wanted to be sick. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I went back with them because we were going to get some other stuff while we were at Walmart. And they took the car and we were kind of dicking around. And then they're like, yeah, it might be like 45 minutes or an hour. So we were kind of like wandering through the toy section and stuff. And he got a text saying that they started to work on the car. And I'm like, oh, that was faster than I expected. And then he got a phone call. And it was one of the people working on the car. And we're like, he's like, hey, so we got the tire off the car. And we were curious. So we went to pull the bolt out of the tire. It didn't penetrate your tire. It's just stuck in the tread. You guys are good. We don't need to do anything. Your tire's fine. It didn't actually penetrate the tire. Like, you're not losing air. We checked the tire. You guys are fine. It wasn't as bad as we thought. And we're like, oh my god, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, come back and get your car. We just have to put the tire back on. We're like, oh my god. So they canceled the service, so we didn't have to pay for any of it. And we're like, oh my god. We're like, you guys have no idea the hell we have been through between his prescription debacle and then the tire debacle. And we're like, oh my god. And being stuck down there from the ice storm in Mississippi because I-22 was basically shut down for a while, and like the tractor trailers were parked and sitting at one point. I'm like, oh yeah, we ain't going nowhere if they ain't moving. And we had a front wheel drive car, and I'm like, it was a solid sheet of ice for days when we were supposed to come home. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. And husband's like, yeah, I ain't driving on that. At least we can be stuck here and be, closer to bathrooms and hotels and not in an accident in a ditch because we slid off the road. He's like, we're gonna wait a couple days. So I was like obsessively checking traffic cameras, and we're like, well, do we extend another day? We had already extended multiple days. We ended up adding on an extra day in Fort Myers when we got, like, when we pulled into the parking lot. We decided to add one more day there just to kind of cover our ass and give the roads a little bit more time, because at that point the storm had already started. And then we ended up coming back up to where my brother was, and we're like, well, we were originally only supposed to be there at night. And then we were looking at our points and we're like, we could probably do 2 more nights. So we booked 2 additional nights, but it wouldn't let us tack it on to the first night and use points. So we kind of had to do it as a separate reservation, which unfortunately meant we had to do another room deposit. And we had to come down and reactivate our keys, but they let us stay in the same room. And when we first got there, they're like, we got there at like 3:45. And she's like, the front desk lady was like, I do not know why I have no king rooms available. Because that's what we booked. It's just the 2 of us. And she's like, I have no idea what is going on. She's trying to get a hold of housekeeping. Most of housekeeping had already finished and left. And for some reason, the computer wasn't updating to show that she had rooms available. And she's like, you know what? Because we were just sitting there chilling. We're like, it's all right. We'll wait. You know, we weren't being pissy about it. Like, it's fine. We'll just sit here and chill for a few minutes until you figure out what's going on. And I said to him, I said, well, if she has queens, like, to make it easier on her, should we just take a queen? Like, it's not like it matters that much. It doesn't have to be a king. And when we walked up to the counter and we were going to walk up there, and she goes, so you guys, you know what? I'm just going to upgrade you to a suite. I have a suite available. It's fine. I'm just gonna upgrade you to that. And we're like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, it's fine. And she goes, I'm so sorry about you guys having to wait. And I'm like, because we had just been there like a week before. And she's like, it's fine. I was like, okay. It's like, we can take the queen if it makes your life easier. She's like, no, I'm just gonna upgrade you. I'm like, all right. I mean, it gave us a little bit more room to spread out and pace around in while we were frantically watching traffic cams, because the suckiest part about the whole trip was that we couldn't do very much. Sorry, my eyes are itchy. Give me 1 second. We couldn't go and do a whole lot of like extra stuff to occupy our time, because we were trying to make sure we were gonna have money to get home, because we had to extend our stay down there. But we went to a couple state parks, because it was just the entrance fee. We didn't have to pay to park anywhere, right? Because some of those places were real strict on their parking. Some places you had to have a parking permit. Other places you had to use apps. And Russell didn't like the one company, and he's like, yeah, no, we're not parking there. And they were $20 for the day or something. And I'm like, damn. And most of those lots were full, and the traffic was crazy on Fort Myers Beach. So we just went down to Lover's Key for like 2 or 3 days. I think we spent 2 days going down to Lover's Key. One day we went to the flea market. It was very big. I ended up getting 2 flamingo things. And we looked around at a bunch of stuff, and then I think I bought like a bag of kettle corn. But we couldn't really go like mini golfing or anything. Mini golf was expensive all over down there. It was like $17, $18 a person. So that was like $40 for both of us to go mini golfing. And he's like, yeah, we can't do that in the budget right now. But ended up getting a coloring book and crowns, and actually got like a paint by number to work on too, and just something to try to keep us busy while we were just kind of stuck there. Anxiously checking traffic cameras every couple of hours to see if anything had improved. It was wild. Alright, so he's gonna take some Prussian blue, crimson, some white. Okay. So, he's got some kind of purple here. And getting that on the brush. Okay, so he's putting in a tree line there. And then he kind of tapped out the bottom. And then he went into the darker part of that purple color that he's got going on. And then he's gonna come up and do another little, like, I guess hill. Whoop. Okay, so Prussian blue, black, crimson. Fan brush. Prussian blue, black, and crimson. So is this like a dark purple? Or is this like a dark blue now? Like that. I don't know. That feels more navy to me, to be perfectly honest. Can I get like a... Okay, that's not bad. Alright. So. Like, all of it kind of feels like a purpley navy, but I don't really have a purpley navy. So, you know what? I might need that white, so I'm gonna leave that out. I need some dark purpley fresh. So, my darkest purples that we've got going on are dark aubergine and jam. And then for like that weird yellowy fog color, I've got this banana cream shade. Well, this might be difficult to do on something so small. So, do try to bear with me here. Alright, so we're gonna... Guess we'll do the jam first. My bags are dusty. Alright. Like, I don't know how I want to, like, really go about this. Let me actually kind of turn you this way. And alright, that's not terrible. Okay. So let's get a little bit more. You can really see how dark the jam color gets when you start really laying it in there against itself. Hello, Mr. Bean. Hi, guy. What's up? Hmm? You get tired of playing with littles? Okay, bye. So, I mean, I didn't go too crazy on the clouds. You can kind of see them in there, though. This guy will just kind of get laid into there. And, you know, go slow. Take your time. You don't really need to rush this. You know, work at your own pace. I certainly do. If you are comfortable working faster and looser, that's great. But my brain won't let me do that, so I'm just gonna kind of move on through with what my brain's going to dictate. And I'm gonna yell at a cat, so give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm the only one here at the moment, so husband had to go to the store. Hey, Mr. Bean! Give me a minute. Alright, sorry about that. Bean was not stopping. Battling Ed, and I was trying to spritz him with the water bottle to try to break his obsession and concentration on Ed, and then they were tumbling, and Bean just wasn't accepting the fact that Ed did not want to be part of his romp, as it were. Because when Bean gets it in his head that he wants something or wants to do something, it takes a few minutes to break that obsession. And I really didn't want to put him in timeout if I could help it. But my mom went with the husband to the store, so I ended up putting the deadbolt on her door. He was laying right in front of it, and I didn't trust him not to mess with it while I wasn't there keeping an eye on him, so. Since we are indisposed, alright, so we've got that back row kind of in there now. And that was Paint Box Simply Chunky Jam. Doesn't matter what brand, I'm just letting you know what brand I'm using. And dusty yarn bags. Alright. So same thing for the dark aubergine from Paint Box Simply Chunky. Not the super Simply Chunky. They have 2 chunky lines. But the price on that has gone up quite a bit. Oh wait, wrong color. I wanted the banana cream first. Since I got it. So I'm gonna be trying to switch over to probably Loops and Threads. Michael's house brand. Not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, and it's gonna be a while before I do swap over. Because I'm gonna have to run out of some colors before I do that. And I'm not quite close to running out of anything just yet. I'm getting closer. I am, don't get me wrong. But I'm not quite there yet. So he kind of mystified the bottom of his foothill here and kind of made that yellow a lot lighter to kind of give it like a yellow tinged mist or fog laying in at like the base there. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try. And if you wanted a bit more of that purple kind of popping through, it's just a dot of water on my palm. I'm trying to shape this, and it was just sliding back and forth and not actually participating in the shaping process. So I just added a little bit of water on my hand there to try to encourage the shaping process to do what I was looking for. Completely optional for that. I mean, and when it gets down to it, all of this is completely optional. I mean, it's your art piece, right? It's your creative child. Your creative project, whatever you want to, however you want to view at it, or view it as. You know, you do what works for you. Okay. I think we all get wrapped up in the way something is supposed to be done. I'm guilty of it too. We forget to just try to do the thing the way that we want to do it and see how it's gonna go. Very small bits of this banana cream color. So it's mostly white with like a hint of yellow. It starts to look a bit more yellow when you get it like piled up on top of each other. Now I don't want to completely cover up the purple that we put in there. I'm trying to kind of lay this over top of, like, overlapping the bottom of the purple there and the top of the yellow. Now, I probably could have had a bit more of a wider swath of yellow, maybe brought the yellow down to about here. But you know what? It's fine. It's not a huge deal. Sometimes getting the scaling right with what Bob is doing on his massive canvas compared to this is tricky, right? Because he's working on what is that? 18 by 20 or something like that, 18 by 24. We're working on 3 inches by 3 inches, so that's a lot different. So it can be tricky to try to scale it down a bit. So we're just kind of trying to figure out what's gonna work for us in here. I'm also trying to figure out what I want to make with my seashells. Something is rattling on my desk. I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's, maybe it's the needles in my art bowl. See, I have an art bowl. Yes, it's in the shape of a flamingo because I didn't know what to do with the flamingo bowl, but husband's like, no, you need to get that. So, I've got the stuff that I grab regularly for like the needle felting, and I've got a needle threader in there currently. So, just kind of working in some smaller chunks here. I will say, I kind of liked working on the 8x10s a little bit better. It was a little bit easier to work larger. However, that being said, it takes hella longer for me working on something quite so large. So, like, these little guys take maybe 2 to 3 sessions, depending on how I'm feeling and how involved they are. Hi, can I help you? What's that? Hi. Let's not get into anything, okay? Hey, Miss Your Beans. Miss Your Beans. What are you doing? I have a very sharp pokey thing right here. Hey, come on. Off. Off. Thank you. Mr. Beans doesn't care about personal space. He thinks every spot in this place is his. And he is desperately looking for something to get into. Because he played too rough and now his friends are hiding. Where's Littles? I saw her in the dining room when I walked through there. Why don't you go play with Littles? Littles doesn't let you get away with stuff, though. Morning nappy's a good idea, too. Late morning nappy. Mr. Man had to sleep in your room last night because you were very upset about spending the night alone. You made him feel so bad we were gonna let you run free last night, and then you were getting into all kinds of trouble. And made Mr. Man regret that decision. And Mr. Man still felt really bad, though, so he ended up spending the night with you. Because you were into everything and anything you could possibly try to get into and just would not settle and lay down with anybody. You were being a little destructive terror. Even though you were being terribly, terribly cute. Now I'm gonna go back to the dark aubergine. Although I will say that jam feels darker now than the dark aubergine. That's kind of infuriating. Oh well. Maybe it'll look darker once we get that laid in here. Alright, so I do tend to work sideways and upside down a lot. I do apologize, sort of, for that, but I also have to work in a way that I can see what the heck I'm doing. So don't be afraid to turn the thing. Whatever you're working on, don't be afraid to do it. Flip it upside down. Hold it diagonal. Work on it sideways. If it means it's easier for you to reach what you are working on, if it means you're going to have an easier time doing the thing. Sometimes we see things that we didn't see before when we turn our thing to a different angle. So don't be afraid to do that. There's no written rule, unless it's like for a specific assignment that you're working on, that says you can't do that. But I think for some reason we as artists, somewhere along the way, someone decided that, oh no, you have to work on it on a table easel or on a big easel. It has to be that way, and you can't turn it. It has to be, you know, you have to work on it in the exact orientation that it's supposed to be when it's finished. And what? What? No. Turn the thing. You're allowed to turn the thing. It's your thing, isn't it? You're the one working on it, right? Turn the thing. And in fact, in the tissue paper project that's gonna get uploaded today, later today, it might not go live later today, but it's gonna get uploaded today. It's probably gonna take a full... I'm scared to look at how long it's gonna take to process it on YouTube side. That'll be interesting. But, you know, in that, I'm working on the thing upside down on the sides of it. Like, right side. It depended on where my camera could be. Because it was such a large canvas that, I was limited in where, A, I could work on it, and B, where I could put the camera to actually be able to reach my computer for recording it. And I will admit, there is some camera footage I'm not happy with, but I used it anyway because that's the footage I had. Some of it was a little blurry, a little fuzzy at times because I forgot that camera, I had to keep turning manual focus, or I had to keep turning autofocus off. So, and then reset the focus to where I was happy with it. Every time I shut down the computer and turned it back on, I kept forgetting. I had to reset the focus on the camera. Sometimes I remembered, a lot of times I didn't. And then I had a cable die. The USB cable for the camera gave up the ghost. And when I switched the cables, the footage got crystal clear. And I was like, oh, damn. Well, that's interesting. I was not expecting that to happen. So, and there was nothing I could do about the previous footage being not as clear, and I was like, great. That's fun. You know? You do what you have to. And I certainly couldn't record it on a cell phone. There was way too many hours of footage that needed to be done. And I needed both of my hands. And it was just easier to have a static camera on a tripod. Although that camera technically wasn't on a tripod. That camera was packing tape mounted to one of my panel lights. So it was sitting above the light on top of the top edge of it. And because it was attached to my lighting tripod, every time the dog walked past it, his feet were catching the wires and snagging the light. Or snagging the wire, and the light would turn, so the camera turned and would be at a weird angle, and I wouldn't always catch it fast enough. My mom almost completely toppled one of my lights and made the camera fall off of the light at one point because she was trying to walk in here and wasn't watching what she was doing. She was just kind of bull in a china shopping her way through. And I'm like, stop, what do you want? Just say what you want. You don't have to walk all the way in. Well, I want to see what you're doing. I'm like, there's nothing to see. It's not done. You can see it when it's done. I'm like, please stop. You're about to destroy expensive equipment. Please stop. Please, I'm begging you, stop walking. Don't move. We have to untangle you because you're all tangled up into everything now. And I had to change my recording location once because the room I was originally in, I couldn't be in there anymore. Because... Why did I have to change that? Did we go somewhere? No. We didn't go anywhere in the middle of working on that. Did we? I don't think so. The mother-in-law came back for something. Or maybe they were just back with the RV, and sometimes when they're back with the RV, she's in her room, sometimes she's not. And I think I wasn't sure. So I moved locations because I didn't want to be in there in case she needed something and I was taking up the entirety of the room, and it was just easier in the end. Got another little spot here of brighter yellow that I kind of want to fill in a bit. But yeah, I mean, at one point the tape, the heat from the light undid the sticky from the tape, and the camera just toppled right off onto what I was working on. Fortunately, it didn't land in any glue. I was like, really? That's not helpful. Like, come on, camera equipment. Yeah, well, they look similar. I guess the aubergine's a little bit darker. I guess. Doesn't look much of a difference, but... No, that's what we got to work with. That's what we got to work with. Alright, and then he kind of did the same sort of thing again at the bottom of this one. Sorry for the creaky noise. My knee was touching my keyboard tray. We'll get that kind of worked up into there. I think I need to go grab Bean real quick. So if y'all will give me just a moment because they just got back. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Wasn't sure if I had to put the cat up or not. Or keep him occupied while he was bringing stuff in. I'll tell you, it is so windy here today. I had to bring in my bobbing flamingos, my dippy flamingos. They're on a stake and their body is wide. It's like flat and wide. So when the wind blows, it catches the wind and they like bob their heads up and down and spin in a circle and stuff. Man, that wind was so bad this morning. They looked like they were either going to get ripped off of the stakes that they were on in the ground or that they were going to snap in half. So I was like, oh, I should probably bring them in. It has just been windy for the past 2 days. Kind of over how windy it's been here. Plus, our house isn't very sheltered from the winds. We're on like a main road. And so there's not much in front of us to block the wind. And there's not a whole lot on the sides of us because the houses sit back off the road a little bit. Not much. I mean, you can hear the traffic. But I think our house sits up further than the other houses next to us. I was actually trying to put the recycling outside earlier, and the way the wind was, I'm like, I don't know about this, but I have to put it out today. It has to go on the curb tonight. Because I didn't put recycling up last week. We didn't have very much last week, and I can't remember if it was really excessively windy or raining or something. Maybe it was excessively windy, and I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. Plus, I'd hurt my neck. Maybe it was my neck. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not. But now I've got recycling like going everywhere in our kitchen. I really need to get it outside, and I started to, and I'm like out there fighting the wind. And I'm like, oh, no. What the heck is this? Alright. So just kind of getting that sort of yellowy tinge mist kind of worked in there, or at least that's what we're trying to, I will say. My neck is still kind of angry. It's better than it was. It is better, but it's not all better. I still can't move it in a certain direction without it hurting. And I think today, once we are settled in and not moving for the rest of the afternoon, I'm gonna have a date with a heating pad. And maybe I will work on that vase. I showed the vase yesterday. I didn't get too much further. I've got some... I picked up some tiny seashells. What the hell did they call them? I'm gonna say it wrong. Coquinas, I think? And they looked like little butterflies to me when they were open. Of course, like 2/3 of them unhinged by the time we got home. And I had gotten them cleaned and everything. So I was originally gonna be like, yeah, we can needle felt something, maybe. Maybe I could try to needle felt some flowers or something, or paint some flowers. And we can put these on there to make it look like butterflies. So I was trying to collect a bunch of those. I didn't get a whole heap ton, but I did get some. I would have liked to have gotten some more. I can purchase those, it looks like, if it comes to it. If I need more. And I got a bunch of calico scallops because husband and I were like, oh, they kind of look like flamingos. Like flamingo feather things. So might try to do some abstract art with that. I kind of want to get some rope. For the body, or maybe I can get some caning stems or something. That I can kind of try to manipulate. It's like a neck shape or something. I don't know. So that's kind of my interpretation of where we're currently at. Okay, so we're gonna advance this tutorial. Alright, so Bob is going to mix alizarin crimson, Prussian blue, and black and get another version of this dark color that he was using. And I don't quite have a darker purple, so I might have to go with like a navy blue for this. So now he's putting in a grove of trees. Kind of like in the front here. And it's kind of covering those guys back there. Alright, so then he cuts off the bottom with some white. To kind of get some snow in there. Alright, Bob. Hold on, Bob. Let's just take a breather there, Bob. Alright, how far into this tutorial are we? 11 minutes. Alright. So, I need to go back to the fluff wall here. Alright. So I've got Navy Night, Dark Denim, or Midnight Blue. I think we're gonna go with Navy Night. Pretty dark color. Okay. So I am going to take a little bit of water, just like a drop on my finger. I'm going to shake most of it off back into my little water cup. And I'm going to start to kind of get a fluff snake. Kind of popped into existence here. As best as I can. So he seems to leave a little bit of space on the edge here. So I can't say how well it's gonna go. And I'm probably too close to the edge here, now that I'm thinking about it, so this tree might end up getting cut off and be peeking out from under our frame, because I see here, the bean just kind of trounces all over my stuff down here, because this is our magnet backing, right? Alright, so that still seems like we're pretty locked into the size, but then this is going to sit over top. Alright, so there's a little bit of space there, but I have to squeeze in whatever he's putting here, so that tree's probably going to vanish. So don't be surprised if we lose that one as time goes on here. So now we're just going to redo our little fluffy snake. And don't be afraid to variate your heights here. Now he had some like echoes of color in there. I can try to do something with that at some point. Maybe. That's starting to get real small though, which is real tough. It's easier to do on a larger canvas. And honestly, even if I was painting this small, we could probably do something with that. I'm just gonna kind of let that like bunch up on itself in there. I'm kind of thinking maybe dark denim would have been our better color choice at this point, but this is the color that we have gone with, so this is what we are gonna keep trucking with. Okay. gonna grab another bit of fluff here. Again, dip in and shake it off so like the drip drips back into the cup. So you don't need much for this. And if your area is not that dry, I guess, and you can shape your fluff without the water, great. It was just smushing back and forth. It wasn't actually rolling for me, so that's the only reason why I grabbed that little bit of water. Okay. And again, if you're able to, I know it's tiny, but if you're able to, don't forget to try to variate the height of your trees. And since we snipped that bottom of the tree, just make sure you come back in and stab that bottom section pretty good. Just so you don't have any loose fluff bits. Trying to cause you all sorts of grief later. And again, Bob says it's our world. So if you need to omit something because it's just not working out for you, that's fine. We've done it plenty of times. Right, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it work for you and the medium you're working with, right? So, I mean, this is most decidedly not oil paint, as we can all tell. This is fiber. Now, I am not using roving. I am using yarn fiber, acrylic yarn fiber. So it can be done with acrylic yarn if you have a wool allergy. You can still do this. Now, I don't know if there's any wool blended into this acrylic yarn. Some acrylic yarn blends do have wool in it. So that's just something that you need to investigate. The blend on the label. I don't have the labels for these anymore, so I don't know what the blend is for this, but I've seen some acrylic yarns for sale that do have wool blended into them, so just, you know, do your research, which I'm sure you already would do if you have that wool allergy. And you want to be real careful that you don't cut your project or cut into your project when you are in there snipping your yarn. If you're more comfortable snipping your yarn piece before you pop it on in there, that's fine too. It's easier for me to work with a slightly larger piece and trim it down as I go than it necessarily is to work smaller. To begin with. This is going to be like a little itty bitty baby tree. Now, if you're gonna work with pre-cut pieces of fluff. I do recommend, if you're trying to get your line of shrubs or trees or whatever, if you want them to be relatively even at the bottom, and you're working with pre-cut bits of different lengths, line them up at the bottom and then have the top super uneven, because as you tap, all those fibers are going to get like pulled together, and it's going to make them a little bit smaller than what you started out with. Keep that in mind. So it's easier to in that case line up the bottom. Cats. Can everybody just chill? Is that asking for too much today? Apparently so. So this piece I didn't necessarily need the water. Okay, and I just like moving around on my mat. They tell you not to stab into the same place constantly, just to, you know, variate wear spots and stuff. So, and this pad is a little sunk in the middle. Could be because of its age, could be through wear, different projects that we've worked on. Could just be how this one was made, because this one was always a little bit of a dip in the middle. But for what we're doing, so I mean it's a little hard to see our trees, but you can kind of get the idea there. I am going a little bit smaller on them, just because his are a little bit on the smaller side. Alright, so he's probably kind of in there. So like when we did the grass, we would have varying heights on it and varying colors in there too. So I would always try to line the bottom edge of the grass up first, and then whatever happened at the top blades of the grass is what happened there. So they would be overlapped over the other bits in front of it, like behind it, excuse me. It was definitely one of those things where we had to work backwards to forward to get all that to lay right. I'm gonna rotate my mat here. And that went. Those wind chimes are getting a workout today. That's for certain. Alright, so I didn't quite finish up here. So sometimes it can be hard to work tiny with the fiber. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes it's a little bit more of a challenge. Now, we could grab a little bit of this ground color and make it a little bit wispy and kind of drag it up in through there. Mr. Bean! He's got a heart on for Ed today. I don't know if it's dominance games or what. Or if he's just trying to wrestle with somebody. I'm kind of surprised he's not bothering Cal. Don't forget to lift up off of your mat every so often. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna need to do like the lighter color kind of combed up into there or not. Haven't fully made up my mind about that yet. I'm like, we don't have to. I mean, I could have tried to space them out a little bit more. And that might have, oh, excuse me, that might have given us a little bit more of that lighter color kind of working through in between. So like there's multiple ways to go about getting there in the end. So this guy. And that popped it into there. So like sometimes when you start at the base, you can shape it a little bit better. And then like tag in the tip of your tree. He's got some pine trees coming up. And I don't know how I'm gonna get those in here. Because trying to get the pine trees, trying to get the pine trees, excuse me, in here when I'm working this tiny is a challenge. It's quite a challenge. I might end up using that dark denim after all just to break up the color. Alright, that little bit on the end isn't worth snipping, so I'll just kind of let that feed up into the bottom of the tree. So, like I said earlier, I am using yarn fiber. You can really use any kind of fiber fluff. This was yarn. This was plied yarn. In a skein. I basically cut lengths of it. I worked in lengths maybe that long-ish. Too long and it starts to get tangled and becomes a nightmare. For me at least. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 strands in my hand. And then brushed them out with my pet grooming brush from the pet grooming aisle in the pet store or the pet store itself. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but I do recommend you get the one with the metal teeth. I think it's either called a slicker or a sticker. It's to help get like the undercoat off of your double coated dogs. They've got little tiny teeth in them that kind of look like an elbow. They're kind of like bent at an angle. I don't know if I can put my hands on mine quickly. I used to have this sitting in the bowl, but then we had to dismantle my desk when we left, and I still haven't put it back together. So this is a bigger one. They come in different sizes. They do have some with plastic teeth. I don't recommend the plastic teeth. I know it's gonna seem like it weighs less and oh, it's smaller. Just if you need something smaller, try to find a smaller metal tooth one. The plastic teeth will break. Ask me how I know. I've tried it. The metal teeth are the better way to go. I haven't lost... I think I've lost maybe 3 teeth out of this. Altogether. 1, 2... Yeah. And I've fluffed quite a lot of yarn. So, as you can see, hopefully... You see how the teeth are in there at an angle? They don't stick straight up. They come up and they bend. So that's what you want to prep your yarn. If you're going to go the yarn route. Different people do it different ways. Some people will cut lengths and put it on top of like a self-healing cutting mat and brush it out on top of the mat. Other people will use cardboard. This will shred cardboard after a certain point. Don't put the yarn on like your jeans on your lap and brush it out that way. This will shred your pants. Be mindful of the surface that you're putting on. I hold my yarn and just brush it out that way, like in the air, essentially. But that thing can rip up your fingers too. So, I tried using these while using it, and that's kind of why it's discolored, because it was starting to rip up these as well. That brush is no joke. It's not a toy. It serves a purpose. But yeah, I mean, if you have a self-healing cutting mat, that's fine. It's probably what I should be using. It would probably be a little bit easier, but I don't have one right now. Should probably look into how much they're running. I don't need a large one. I might look into that. Look on Amazon for that in a little bit. But that is a matter to deal with later. So that tissue paper project might go live tomorrow. Maybe. Kind of depends on how the upload goes today. I haven't started it yet. Wanted to wait till after we were done streaming today to even attempt to start that. Alright, I talked about showing the face. So I didn't really get any more work done on it last night. Literally, after I got done stream yesterday, we took the dogs to the working place. I came back. Set up to start working. Oh, that one's a lot lower than it should be. I started working more on the audio that was going in the background, and then that is all I did last night. And I had to repeat my song list that I decided to use on it 2.5 times. It actually, I was surprised. I was like, oh. But then again, at the same time, not so surprised, because that song list is short, because YouTube Music Library, well, not most, a good portion of them are like 2 minutes. Unless you're like getting cinematic stuff that runs a little bit longer. But then I had to play with audio volume, and there's also quite a bit of like dead space on some of those songs. Sometimes it's at the beginning of it, sometimes it's at the end of it, sometimes it was both, and I'm like, why are you being this way? So then that cost me more time editing, because I was trying to clean up the dead space. I could have just left it in there, but it felt weird. The video was long enough, having longer empty swaths with no sound felt really awkward. So I tried to keep the music moving so it wasn't too weird. Now, I already hung up the blue fog was what we used for our shadowy snow color. So I'm gonna grab some of our white. Oh, by the way, the Navy Night was Paintbox Simply Chunky. This white is Big Twist white. Big Twist Value, excuse me. We're gonna say what it is. Let's get it right. None of this is sponsored. I'm just letting you all know what I'm using, because some people ask. Again, use what colors you have. I've got a larger fluff color library, I guess. Toolkit. So I was trying to make this wispy, right? If I don't like it, I can rip it out. Alright. Okay, so I think what we'll do, grab a little tiny bit. And just here and there. If I just kind of like try to work it in a little bit. You can kind of try to fan it out a little. Just at the bases. I just want a hint of something. And I don't even know how much of this is going to be visible when we get to the end part here. Just trying to, every so often, just kind of break up all of the solid blue in there. Very small amounts. Very, very small. And then let's start at the base, because then that'll kind of pull that down a little bit. It won't be quite so long. And then you can tap it as little or as much as you want into Oblivion. Just remember, you can kind of tap it to the point that it melts away sometimes, depending on how small it is. So if that's something that you don't want to get carried away with, keep that in mind. Do you have something cooking? Alright, maybe I'm smelling residual breakfast then. That's possible. Right. Okay, so that's not so bad. Alright, I'm just gonna come back into there. We have like a hint of separation in there, so now lift that up. I'm gonna turn my mat. Alright, so now Bob did have some snow in there. He took some white. I'm gonna need a little bit of water. Now, his was a little bit more shadowed in spots. I suppose if I really need to, I can grab some more of that tree color. And I can kind of like wisp it in there. So I am going to start over here on the edge. And I'm going to try to come in here. And I am working sideways a little bit, just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And it's okay if we have some thin spots. in our white here to where we have some of this blue shade kind of poking through, that's fine. That was the whole point of putting, or going through the trouble of putting that blue shade down. So that way, if we did have any peeking through, then we've got some more shadowy friends on in there. And if you feel like it's not shadowy enough, you can always come back in with that lighter shade. And try to add some. Or you could take a couple of strands on your dark color here, of your dark color. And you could work that in there as well. Okay, just a drop of water and I'm going to flick it off. Like I said, I don't need much for this. We're not saturating the art. That's not the point. We just kind of want it enough friction on our hand to kind of make a little fluffy snake here. All we really are trying to do. I remember how I said before, like, your tape is going to bubble up. It's not gonna be super flat the whole time. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It was more or less there as our guideline anyway. Just so we don't lose our place here. And I'm just gonna work some more of the snow into here. He cut off a bit more of the bottom of his trees than I am. Actually, I wasn't sure how much snow I wanted to work into here. To be perfectly honest. Like, I almost feel like maybe it needs a little bit more. Oh god, I think he put a cabin in here. Am I remembering correctly? I still have to get a tiny mini cabin in here? Oh, there might be a cabin in this one. I don't know how that's gonna go. There might be a cabin chance. A very teeny tiny dollhouse miniature cabin. Okay. Now, do I want to add... Do I want to add that? I don't know if I need to. If I had just had, like, the right shade of blue, I probably would have... Actually, I do have a blue. I have denim blue. Not only does it work well for water, it's not bad for some snow shadows. I don't want it to completely overtake my white, though. I just kind of want the barest hints of color laid in there. You do what you want to do, but for me personally, teeniest, tiniest kiss of color here. Now, I'm not sure if I'm just taking more time with this one than I have the other ones. Or what? Or if I've just been more chaos ridden lately with lifing around us. But this one does seem like it's taking a little bit longer to get where we're going. We also didn't start that early today either on either live streams like I can sometimes do. Okay, that's not so bad. So we've got like a hint of shadowy snow in there. Okay. Now, Sir Bob. Alright, so you mixed up this color. Okay, so Van Dyke Brown, Dark Sienna. And he starts working a good sized tree. Bob. Bob, yes, your little squirrel is very cute, Bob, but in the meantime, you're doing things that we need to see, Bob. Oh, and that's not something we need to see. I don't get money for that. Doesn't look like I can skip those ones either. Alright, so while he was playing with a squirrel, he popped in trees here and then mixed a light pink and started to kind of like frost kiss those. Oh, see, he puts a cabin in here too, so I'm trying to figure out how far down does that come? Or am I confused? Does he not put a cabin in here? I thought there was one. Am I confused? So he made like a bluey kind of color. For the snow on those. And then he kind of did some more like darky, shadowy shrubbies at the bottom. And he made up another pink color. And then we're doing pinkish blue highlights on those guys. Okay, and more. Yeah, okay, so he. Bob. Bob, that is going to be so hard to pull off. It's so tiny. So, because of my frame here, I'm gonna have to kind of put this guy like right in here. Alright. See, you can tell it was VHS tape because of the tracking there. Alright, Bob. Let's back that on up. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Alright, let's take that tree away. Can we get ahead? Susie, what you doing?
Where is he?
He's staring into the kitchen.
Oh. Yeah, well.
Okay. We kind of get a head on shot of this. Okay, so it's sort of like a brown shade. Essentially. So I need to pick out a brown shade. It's kind of a darker brown shade, but not like super dark. So how about we go with coffee bean? Alright. I'm not sure. That might be a little too big. Okay, so it kind of comes up into our pink section. Kind of, sort of. And I might need to exaggerate that and bump it over a little bit more. Because, yeah, that's not really visible now, is it? So, sometimes you gotta have your little measuring stick out there to check, see how you are working out there. Gonna need to kind of pull that out a bit further so we can at least see it. There. So, sorry, I just needed to check something. Okay. Alright. And actually, I think we're gonna need to pause here for now. As soon as we get that kind of popped into there, and we will have to pick this guy up next week. I don't know if we'll be able to finish him next week. I do apologize that I am stopping a little early today, but I'm suddenly not feeling well, so we are gonna just kind of stop it there, and we will pick this back up next week, and we'll see how far we get. If I have to go a little bit late next week to finish, we will do that. But I do want to thank everybody for popping in and checking out how far we've managed to get. Granted, not terribly far, but, you know, we're just kind of slow poking along as we do. So, don't forget to follow socially links down below. That will take you to the Ko-fi, the Blue Sky, and the YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow with Planet Zoo. And maybe finishing up the cat house and starting to do some more planning for the crocodile area. We'll see how that goes. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their afternoon. And until next time, you guys.